Ladies and gentlemen, give my co-host some love. Come on now. That video didn't make itself, okay?
I love that
And
video.
video game review intro. It's
Love the
absolutely
music that I found.
music is perfect. And here we are back with another review, and this time it is one I remember very fondly.
Oh yeah,
Very
I made sure to put this intro because I remember this intro too
yes.
so much.
It is WWF WrestleMania 2000.
I'm not gonna lie, I think I played this game more than any other wrestling game, even more so than WCW versus NWO. Because at the time, I was much more a WWF fan than WCW, so this game was just amazing for me.
Yeah. It was definitely this and No Mercy, the 264 games. And we're actually going to get into it. And here's part of it is, Revenge was done by THQ. And then this became, then they went to the WWE. So this game was actually the same exact engine as WCW and NWO Revenge.
Yes.
So, but I know because of course, I like all the creation stuff in too, but I know this had to be one of your favorites because of so many of the things you could do in this game that you could not do before, including changing wrestlers' gears to the point where you could put the Rock's trunks on Stone Cold Steve Austin if that's what you felt like doing. So I know you had to like that part of it.
Oh, that's why because if I remember right, WCW versus NWO Revenge, I could only change characters, and I did that 100%. I did that. You didn't. You could change them. You could change their name. You essentially took the place of those. This one, I believe, had an actual create a character introduction, if I remember right.
This was actually the first WWF game that allowed you to freely edit your superstars, which is what I just mentioned, which was like changing their tights and all of that.
Yeah.
And they actually each had, they also had templates. So they had 4 templates. Every character had 4 templates. So you could actually have 4 different outfits for each of your wrestlers. Now, you could also create superstars, but of course it had limited memory. So there was also the option, I remember I did it once or twice, that actually in those 4 slots you could put different superstars, but the only catch to that was they would all have the same move set. So if you're in the room for creative wrestler, you could put him as an alternate attire almost.
Yeah.
And it could be a totally different wrestler, but they would just have the same move set.
Which I'm pretty sure I did that a lot, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure to do. And and I've probably mentioned this on the show before, but the one thing is like the reason that Nintendo 64 will always be my favorite system is because it's the first one I bought myself when I got my first apartment. So I have a little bit of that sentimental attachment to the Nintendo 64. And I know I played the hell even back then. And I'm sure they didn't have a universe mode. I remember a WrestleMania mode on this, but I'm sure they didn't have universe like we know it today. But I still did that stuff anyway. I still made up my own.
Oh, it was Road to WrestleMania mode. And if I remember right, I did actually, even though there was a creative player, I believe I did change the names of a bunch of these. So when I was playing the Road to WrestleMania, I was actually facing my created characters instead of, which I loved. But I would play against my created characters that I changed all these people to.
And then I do remember something about this, because of course these guys had just done WCW and NWO Revenge. When you went to create wrestlers, you could find some familiar movesets, such like that belonged to Goldberg and Diamond Dallas Page and the Macho Man. Even though those guys weren't in the game, their move sets and their moves and everything.
Well, that's still a staple to wrestling nowadays.
Oh, yeah. That's one of my favorite things. I think when I get the new wrestling game is when you go to like the Create Studio to see what wrestlers are on there that aren't actually on there, and you know right away. Yeah. Like you're watching entrance or something. But here was something else unique I forgot about this game. So, they had a feature where you can make 2 superstars' entrance music the same if they were a real life team. So, for example, if you put Road Dogg and Mr. Ass together, they would be introduced as the New Age Outlaws. And this was the first time in the game where that would happen, where tag teams actually came out and were introduced as tag teams. Yes.
Huh. I didn't know that. Actually, that's crazy.
Not just, well, no, it's more than that. I kind of they didn't only come out together, they were also announced as the tag team as well. So it was the entire entrance. It was like the whole deal. Like if you put those 2 together in the game and did a match together, they're going to be announced as the New Age Outlaws. So it's the whole, thing, if that makes any sense.
Man, tag team wrestling sucked before this, huh?
Right.
This
Well, yeah,
one
because
confuses me.
if you would have picked Billy Gunn and Mr. Ass, they would have came out separately, and they wouldn't have said the New Age Outlaws. They just would have came out separately, and they would have came out for a tag team match.
Yeah.
Now, this also had some things that we didn't see in WCW and WWF, such as a steel cage match. They also had a first blood match. They had a better and more expanded reversals and counter moves. And there was also, well, I'm sorry. Oh, and of course, the roster. The roster was huge. This is also, by the way, the only game that had Scott Taylor and Brian Christopher featured as Too Much. This wasn't the only game they were in, but this was the only game that had them as Too Much.
Because that wasn't a very long gimmick.
Which we all know is the greatest tag team name ever. Also, by the way, it's the only game where Sean Stasiak appeared as Meat.
Oh, yeah. I forgot all about Meat.
Yeah. One other side note, it's the only game that the Blue Meanie was on. The only WWE game that the Blue Meanie appeared on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Was this the first game with like a momentum meter instead of just a health bar?
Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, I am so glad you brought that up. That is the first game to have that feature. The momentum bar. Yes. And I had that note written down and then I totally forgot about it. It was. And by the way, kids, you can laugh at us now, but I thought these graphics were amazing, even though it's just like their picture of their face plastered on a body.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy if you look at it now, but I thought it had great. The other thing is, like, and of course, we've talked about this with some of the games right before this too, but this is where you can actually start telling. Like, wrestlers have their actual move sets, and they don't all just move the same way, and they're not all doing this. Remember the game we reviewed with the hands?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Attitude was so crappy. And the weird thing is Attitude probably had slightly better graphics than this one because of the way the style is, but this one was so good.
It was.
I loved this game.
I know I play. Oh, and it did. See, now they just showed the calendar. That was the Road to WrestleMania mode.
Yeah, that's what's going through right here is the Road to WrestleMania, and I love the Road to WrestleMania mode.
Yeah, that was the. Well, here we go. I'm going to pull up the roster. I'm obviously not going to read off every person that was on here, but man,
yeah, there was a lot if I remember right.
Gerald Briscoe. I don't remember being able to play as Gerald Briscoe. There's a Chaz on here, and I don't even know who Chaz is. We have Draws, the Godfather, Hardcore Holly, Jeff Jarrett, Kane, Mark Henry, Mankind, Meat, Michael Hayes. Michael Hayes is on Midian, Prince Albert, Road Dogg, Test, Rock, Val Venus, Egg Pocket goes on. But there were only 6 female wrestlers, so I'll read that. China, Deborah, Ivory, Jacqueline, Terry Reynolds, and Tori for the females available. Dudes.
So, question.
Yes.
When did this come out? Because we're seeing wrestlers so far that we haven't seen on our podcast. Now it's probably they just haven't been on the pay-per-view.
They just haven't been on the pay-per-view.
And Prince Albert.
We've been discussing Meat because he's been on pre-shows. But this game came out in '99, and that's where we are right now. So
I know. I meant like month.
Oh, it came out. Let's see, November. Depending on where you lived, November, December of '99. It was December in the UK.
So this is
November here. Yeah. So.
Okay, so this is at the end of the
at the end of
year. So we haven't got to when this.
So these are guys that are there, but we just haven't seen on pay-per-views yet. But they are there. I forgot about the unlockables, though. Do you remember this? Do you remember that you had unlockable wrestlers from winning the Road to WrestleMania?
You'll have to remind me who they were, but I do remember
because I don't remember these guys. So these are all the characters you could unlock on the Road to WrestleMania. Cactus Jack, Dude Love.
Okay, I think I do remember that. You could get all the faces of Foley, but you had to unlock them.
Jerry the King Lawler.
That's a good one.
This next one I remembered, I don't know why, but Jim Ross. And the reason I remember it is because I remember you could wrestle with Jim Ross, and I would give him movesets that weren't his, so you could do some crazy shit with him. You know what I mean? Give him like a luchador moveset, so you could swanton people. Paul Bearer, Shawn Michaels, and Stephanie McMahon.
Nice.
So those were your unlockable.
It's weird to think of Shawn Michaels as an unlockable.
Right?
You know?
It is.
Like,
and he's not actually on the game, but Shane McMahon and Steve Blackman are. And not Shawn Michaels. The Goons are on there too. That is just hilarious. By the way, here we go again. This is the only THQ game where Draws, Mosh, Brash, and Jeff Jarrett are all playable characters. So, that's interesting as well. The Shawn Michaels thing is really interesting. I wonder why he wasn't actually a character.
I remember that.
Oh,
sorry. Sorry, the ring bell whenever you punch him in the balls.
Yes. Yes. I also remember.
I think it happened with women too.
I also remember thinking too, like, wow, look how realistic that crowd is. Like for this time in the graphic, the signs look pretty legit too. The crowd's actually pretty good for that, considering the time.
Oh man, watching this video is really making me want to go back and dust out my 64.
You know, I don't have one, but it makes me want to get one again. I actually did that when I was married. I bought one again, and I don't know what happened to it because that's just how tied I remember I had the Donkey Kong edition one.
Honestly, green. I think I own this game still. I think I have it somewhere packed away.
And yes, I know that you can play. Of course, we've talked about this. You can't really play the wrestling games, but you can play a lot of the nostalgic games on the Switch. But it's still not the same as playing it on the actual system.
Yeah,
like, there's just something about having the original system that makes it a different experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I wish I could find. Me and my brother have talked about this. We wish they would throw, and I'm pretty sure it's a licensing thing. There's Scott Taylor, but but you know how the Nintendo Switch has a 64 thing on there.
Yeah, but no wrestling. Yeah.
But they don't have any of these wrestling games. I'm like, I wish, but I think it's just a licensing issue.
Yeah, it has to be.
It's probably why not. But man, it would be so nice.
It would be.
I would probably play the shit out of this game if they threw that on there. I remember. I want to play it right now.
I remember getting to a point where my girlfriend at the time sometimes would get mad. I spent so much time playing this game. Of course, she just knew I was on the 64. She didn't know exactly what I was playing. But if it wasn't this, it was fucking, GoldenEye or Mario, Donkey Kong, whatever. But yeah, great game. Bring back the nostalgia. AEW had like the graphic part right, but their game sucked a dick. Let's just throw that out there. The graphics looked cool. I like the throwback to that, but that was a horrible game.
I didn't mind it. I don't think it's as bad as people give it, but it wasn't great. But I hope that it was good enough where they get to try again. Like I want them to make another one.
Already brought that up. They're working on that. They're going to give it another shot. Yeah. Which I'm glad too. I agree. Like TNA came out with one wrestling game back in the day, which I enjoyed, but it failed and a lot of people hated it, so they just never tried again. Like that's not how that works. If it doesn't, AEW just needs a little bit of tuning on their game. It wasn't totally horrible. One, everybody wants a universe mode. We know you're trying to be different, but everybody wants a universe mode. Come on.
Yeah, we like the universe mode.
Everybody wants that.
Don't take away features just because it wasn't used back then.
Yeah, because it was different. Yeah, don't do that. But anyway, great game. Oh, nostalgia. I could just sit here and watch this video for a long time. But
I know. I recorded about 16 minutes, so
I don't know. I don't think people would be like, "Hey, I really enjoy them watching video gameplay."
Yeah. I suppose we should probably move on to the next thing. But yeah, I loved this game. This game was fantastic.
Absolutely, I think everything on the 64 was. And by the way, our next review. Maybe we'll do that next week because our next review will be a WCW game. Normally, don't do two back, but we will be on a WCW pay per view next week because
I mentioned I wanted to do. I wanted to try to do like the WCW because I know we have plenty of WCW games to review.
Yeah, and you talk about a piece of shit. We could review that next week. I believe it's WCW Mayhem. Yeah.
When they lost this rights and then they had to go back to a shittier.
It's when they lost the THQ. Yeah, and but yeah, we might do that one next week because we're doing the WCW pay per view anyway. There you go.
Sounds good.